My ex-husband stood in the doorway of our apartment the night he left and told me I would never run so much as a lemonade stand without him. And I remember thinking he was probably right because I had $211 to my name and no plan and no one coming to save me. And 8 years later, that man is mopping floors in my building every single night, and he still does not know that I am the one who created the job he was so desperate for, and I am the one who quietly promoted him, and I am the one who leaves things for him in the dark so he feels less alone. And every night he walks past my photograph on the lobby wall, and every night he does not look up. And by the time this story is over, you will not know whether to call me cruel or call me kind, and honestly, neither do I. The night he left, he did not slam the door. That is the part people never expect when I tell this story. There was no shouting, no broken dishes, no dramatic exit. He simply picked up the bag he had already packed, stood in the doorway of the apartment we had shared for 11 years, and said something so quiet and so certain that I have never repeated it out loud until now. He said, "You do not have the spine for anything real. You will never run so much as a lemonade stand without me." Then he closed the door, and I heard his footsteps go down the stairs, and I heard his car start in the parking lot below, and then there was nothing, just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own breathing. I did not cry that night. I sat down on the kitchen floor and I counted every dollar in my account, every bill coming due, every option I had left. $211. That was the number I kept coming back to. Not enough to move, not enough to wait, just enough to make one decision. I did not hate him in that moment. I want to be honest about that, because the story is not about hate. I was afraid, the kind of afraid that sits in your chest and does not move for weeks. But somewhere underneath the fear was something else I could not name yet. I found out 3 weeks later what that feeling was when I registered a small cleaning business at the county office using the last of that $211. Not because I had a plan, not because I believed in myself the way people describe in motivational speeches, but because scrubbing floors pays cash, and cash meant one more week, and one more week meant he had not won yet. I cleaned offices at 4 in the morning. I cleaned bathrooms other people would not touch. I showed up when I said I would, and I charged less than I should have, and I saved every dollar I did not need to spend. I did not tell anyone what I was building because I did not know what I was building. I just kept moving. And moving turned into contracts. Contracts turned into employees. Employees turned into a company with my name on the door. 8 years, that is how long it took from that kitchen floor to a headquarters with 70 people who work for me. 8 years of early mornings and missed holidays and decisions that kept me awake and decisions I'm still not sure were right. And not once in those 8 years did he look me up. Men who write your ending never bother to keep reading, so he did not know. He did not know any of it until the day a mutual friend called me and said he had lost everything. His industry collapsed. His savings were gone. He was applying for custodial work just to keep the lights on. And I remember holding the phone very still and feeling something I still cannot fully explain. Not satisfaction, not sadness exactly, something older and quieter than both. And in that moment, I made a decision that I have never been able to fully justify to anyone, including myself. You can tell me in the comments if you have ever done something kind for someone who once hurt you. I read every single message. And if this story is making you feel something you cannot name yet, subscribe right now so you do not miss how this ends. I did not call him. Calling him would have meant he could hear my voice and measure how far I had come, and I did not want that. I did not want him to feel the distance between us. I wanted him to live inside it without knowing. So I did something quieter. I contacted a facilities vendor my company already worked with, and I asked them to post a night shift custodial position through their listing. $17 an hour, night shift, No interview required, just a phone call and a start date. A friend of a friend passed the number to him the way people pass things when someone is desperate and too proud to ask directly. He called the same day. He did not ask who owned the building. He did not ask why a maintenance company was hiring over the phone with no background check or no references. He just asked when he could start. That is the moment that broke something open in me that I had not expected. Not his desperation. I understood desperation. I had lived inside it. What broke me open was his silence. The man who once told me I lacked the spine for anything real had stopped being curious about the world because the world had stopped being kind to him. And I recognized that. I had felt it myself on that kitchen floor 11 years ago. He started on a Tuesday. I know because I was sitting in my car across the street when he walked through the front entrance for the first time. I watched him on my phone through the building's security feed. He was wearing a jacket that was slightly too large, and he carried his own cleaning supplies in a canvas bag, which told me he had done his research and wanted to make a good impression. He pushed the mop bucket through the lobby slowly, carefully, the way a person moves when they are afraid of making a mistake in a new place. My company photograph hangs on the wall just past the reception desk, a large framed print, my name beneath it, the year the company was founded. He walked past it without looking up. I watched him pass it 3 times that first night. I told myself it did not matter. I told myself I had not done this for the moment he would recognize me, but I stayed in that par for 2 hours, watching a grainy security feed, and I still cannot fully explain why. By the second week, something shifted in me that I had not planned for. I started noticing the details. He arrived 7 minutes early every shift. He returned equipment to exactly where he found it. He left the lobby cleaner than his instructions required. He was, in the plainest sense of the word, trying. And something about watching a person try quietly, in the dark, with no audience and no applause, reminded me so much of who I had been at the beginning that I had to set my phone down and sit with that for a long time. He was not the man who had stood in that doorway anymore. That man had been certain of everything. This man was careful about every small thing because he could not afford to lose anything else. And I understood that completely. Which is why on the 3rd week I started leaving things for him. You can tell me in the comments right now whether you would have told him the truth or kept the secret forever. I read every single message, and I mean that. And if this story touched something real in you today, please like this video and subscribe, because the next story I am already writing is meant for you. The first thing I left was a flashlight. The one assigned to his station had a cracked casing and dim batteries, and I noticed it on the security feed on his 4th shift. I did not send a maintenance request. I did not flag it through the vendor. I simply left a new one on the shelf above his cart before he arrived, with no note and no explanation. He found it 20 minutes into his shift. I watched him pick it up and turn it over in his hands and look down the hallway in both directions like he was trying to understand where it had come from. Then he clicked it on, checked the beam, and put it in his cart and kept working. The second thing I left was a new mop head tied with a piece of blue ribbon because it was the only thing I had in my desk drawer, and I was not thinking about how it would look. I was just thinking about the fact that the one he had been using was fraying at the edges and making his work harder than it needed to be. He found that one too. This time he stood still for almost a full minute just holding it. The third thing I left was a $20 bill folded underneath his empty coffee cup near the service entrance. That one he did not touch for 2 days. I watched him notice it, look around, step back and walk away from it 3 separate times before he finally picked it up on the second night and stood there holding it with both hands like he was trying to decide what it meant. I did not plan any of this carefully. I want to be honest about that because I think people expect a story like this to have a clean design behind it. But the truth is, I was making small decisions the way you do when something in you knows what is right before your mind catches up. I was not trying to humiliate him. I was not trying to make him feel small. I think I was trying to remind him quietly that someone saw him, even if he never knew who. About 5 weeks into his shift, I was working late and I pulled up the security feed out of habit. He had finished his rounds early and he was standing in the lobby in front of my photograph, not glancing at it the way people glance at things on walls, standing in front of it, still. I watched him for a long time, and then he reached out and touched the corner of the frame very lightly with 2 fingers, and then pulled his hand back and stood there a moment longer before he turned and walked to the service exit. He never said a word. There was no perfect cinematic line, just a man standing alone in a quiet building, touching the edge of a photograph at 11 p.m. at night. And something about that broke me open completely because I understood that gesture. I had made it myself 100 times in 100 different ways during the years when I was invisible and trying and not yet enough. Last month, I approved his promotion to facility supervisor through the vendor. He received the news through a phone call from their office. He does not know my name was behind it. He thinks the work he put in quietly in the dark was finally noticed by the right person at the right time. And he is correct, it was. I have not told him. I do not know if I ever will. What I do know is this. He told me I did not have the spine for anything real, and he was right that I did not have it then, but I grew one, slowly in the dark, with no applause and no audience, the same way he is growing something now on the night shift in my building. Power is not making someone smaller. Power is having every reason to and choosing something harder instead. And I will let you decide whether that makes me cruel or kind, because after everything, I still cannot decide for myself.